Here they come.
Okay.
All right. Yay. Participants. All right, we got people joining. Hi, guys. Come on in.
Hi, everyone.
We'll do some awesome introductions soon, and then we'll hand it over to our fabulous author. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, we have a lot of people joining. Excellent.
Yeah, a lot of people. This is fabulous. Woohoo. All right. I love it. Yeah, we'll wait a little bit.
And Jeanette, you might mention too that Chris is, it's going to stream live on Facebook, but they can also get to it off the library Facebook page if they would like to watch it again, because they might.
Fabulous. Fabulous. All right. Yeah, this is good. Unlike last time where I handed out the wrong link and all of a sudden everyone was a panelist.
Oh my gosh, she did. She gave everybody her own link and all of a sudden there were 52 Jeanette Gonzalez's on this.
And I felt so bad at first because I was like, delete. I'm like, why do I keep popping up? And then I realized, oh no, those are people trying to get in. It was great.
We understand now. We have it worked out.
No, sometimes it's been a crazy year. All right, everyone that's here, we're just going to wait a few more minutes, then we'll do a little introduction, think of your questions, and then we're going to hand it over. It's going to be fabulous.
Yes, I love questions. So please try to think of all the questions that you may have. I'm being so happy to answer all of them.
I think we'll give it like one more minute or not even, and then we'll and then we'll start.
Yeah, one more is good.
One more and then we'll start. Yeah, it'll be fabulous. And I realized too, for all my fabulous students in here, that I don't like silence. So like whenever I'm Zooming and there's silence, I'm like, we got to talk. Like, so I feel dead air. That you're just gonna have to get used to it. So
I think you should, I think we've got 51 people, which is fabulous.
Okay,
I think we should maybe go ahead. Oh, wait, never mind. I lied. Someone else just joined.
yeah. Yeah, only 30 more seconds anyways, then we'll start.
Okay, all right.
All right, Penny, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So everyone here, thank you so much for joining us. We're super excited. For those who don't recall, my name is Jeanette Gonzalez. I'm the obnoxious librarian here at Ridgewood High School. My partner in crime is the fabulous Penny Blubaugh from Eisenhower Public Library. And we are so excited for you to be here today and talk with this fabulous author. So obviously we have Mayra Cuevas here, who was born and raised in Puerto Rico. And she is also a professional journalist, which I think is really neat. And in addition to being a fiction writer, she says she loves books with happy endings, which is fabulous. We love happy endings. Now, just some kind of procedural things. Your mics and cameras are going to be off during the duration of the program, but we will be monitoring chat and the Q&A. So once Mayra is done with her little introduction spiel, then we'll open it up to you and feel free to put those questions in the Q&A or the chat, and we'll be monitoring both. All right.
And you can put your questions in while she's speaking too, you guys.
Yeah,
absolutely. Don't need to wait till the end.
Yeah, go ahead and put them in and then we'll go down through the list.
Yep.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to hand it over to this fabulous author, and I can't wait to hear from you and to see all these fabulous questions. So here we go.
Hi, everyone. I am so happy and excited to be here with you today. And thank you so much to Penny and Jeanette for having me and inviting me. I mean, it's like one of the most amazing things of writing a book is to get to do library and school visits and get to connect with all of you and answer all your questions. And hopefully encourage any writers in the group to also work on your own stories, write your own poetry or comic books or graphic novels or even fan fiction. So whatever you guys, whatever moves your heart, right? So that's one of the things that we're going to be talking about. And I am really, really looking forward to all of your questions and comments. If there's something that you like, hi. And please just put it on the chat box or put it in the Q&A, and I'm going to try to get to hopefully all of them or as many as possible. So I have a short presentation just so that you know a little bit about me. Let's see. Okay, So I was born and raised in Puerto Rico. If you don't know where Puerto Rico is, it's a small island in the Caribbean. We are about 100 by 35, but we pack a big punch. Like there's, we have a lot of like artists and writers and poets that have come out of our island. And we have just so many wonderful things that I love about Puerto Rico. I'm actually about to go back home next month, and I haven't been since before the pandemic. And I miss it so much. I miss being in the mountains, like going to the beach, like eating like absolutely delicious food and spending time with my abuelitos. And there's a picture of them. And my abuelo, I just found out my abuelo is in the hospital right now because he's got pneumonia, which is so sad. It's just breaking my heart. I wish I was there with them, just holding his hand. But, sometimes we just, it's just distance. We just have to be away, and we have to keep in touch with our families just from our heart. So that's my abuela, my abuelo. I dedicated this book to my abuela, and I was one of the most thrilling and amazing things to write this book is to get to go to Puerto Rico and take a copy to my abuelita and sit in the kitchen with her cafecito and like show the dedication to her on the first page so she could see her name on the book. And it was just, every time I think about it, I feel like I'm gonna cry. So yeah, I grew up on the beach, which was pretty awesome. Had my own boat and everything. And one of the things that I love about growing up in Puerto Rico is the food. The food is just absolutely amazing. And I incorporated a lot of that culinary tradition into the book. This is a foodie book. There's like food pretty much in every page, if not every paragraph. And it's just, food for me is just a way for us to connect, right? To connect as human beings, to connect as friends, to connect as family. One of the things that we all know from the pandemic last year, like one of the most popular things is picnics, right? We've all kind of met outside and shared a sandwich or kind of gotten together over a coffee or whatever. And it's just, food just brings us together. It brings everybody to the table. And it's also a way for us to understand the history within our families and the culture and traditions in our country and our communities, right? So a little bit of some of the authors that I read when I was growing up. I read a lot of Latin American literature. I was very, very, very lucky that growing up in Puerto Rico, I was able to see myself in the books that I was reading. I read everything: Isabel Allende, Casa de los Espíritus, Gabriel García Márquez, Julia de Burgos, which is a Puerto Rican poet. 100 Years of Solitude, or 100 Años de Soledad by Gabriel García Márquez. I just think it's the best book that has ever been written, ever. It's just absolutely amazing if you guys get a chance to read it. And I also, I went to a private Catholic school, and most of my classes were in English. So I got to read a lot of classics, like everything from like Homer and the Iliad to Shakespeare and Little Women. Little Women was actually one of my favorite books growing up, because again, it's a book where maybe I couldn't see myself culturally, but I could see myself as a young girl just trying to kind of figure out the world around her, right? So yeah, I think from that experience, it was so important for me to write books where people like me culturally and other girls could see themselves in the stories that they were reading. A little bit of Puerto Rican sounds right there. So I'm also a journalist. I work for CNN. I've been with CNN for over 20 years, almost 20 years now. So basically my entire adult life. And I've gotten to do some really cool stuff. I worked on breaking news. I interviewed a living President Jimmy Carter, and that was a wonderful experience. Done some crazy things like swim with sharks, like in and out of a cage in the Bahamas for a story. I did not tell my mother until afterwards. She was not happy. And it's always, for me, it's always a privilege to be able to tell other people's stories and to talk to other people about their experiences and the things that are meaningful to them. So I wrote Salty Bittersweet. Salty Bittersweet was actually not my first book that I wrote. It was just the first one that was published. It was actually, I think it was like the third. Yes, it was the third manuscript that I wrote. The first two did not get published, and that happens a lot. So it took about 1.5 years to write and another year to get it published. So it will be in the hands of readers. There are about 6 languages represented in the book. I'm fluent in English and Spanish, and I also speak a little bit French. And when I travel, I love picking up just a little bit of languages in the different places that I go, just to have the opportunity to connect with people. So I know like a little bit of Portuguese and a little bit of Italian, which is awesome. And to write the book, I actually spent a lot of time in a real life, like high-end restaurant kitchen, which was so much fun to get to see how chefs like really prepare like these amazing dishes. I kind of pull away the curtain a little bit. So I took lots of notes, and they were all incorporated into the book. And the book was actually nominated for Georgia Author of the Year, which was super exciting. And I don't know if I won yet, so I won't know until the summer. So wish me luck. Also, I read a short story. The short story was published as part of the anthology Foreshadow, The Magic of Reading and Writing YA. And if you like to write, I highly recommend this book because it's got tons of stories by lots of new and emerging voices, and also by authors that we already love. And we give you like tips on writing, and we kind of break down the different parts of story and the different elements of story, and give you some examples. And there's short stories with each example, so you can kind of like really get it by reading the story, right? The story that I wrote is actually based on real life events. It's a group of young people that traveled from Puerto Rico to South Dakota to work at a turkey processing plant after Hurricane Maria. So it's like their emotional journey of leaving their family, leaving the island, and going somewhere where they basically didn't know anything, didn't know anyone. The climate was completely different. They arrived in the dead of winter. So I love that story. It's actually really close to my heart. So a little bit about my path to publication. So my first manuscript, which was a really, really bad fantasy, of course, at the time, I did not know it. I thought it was the best thing ever written since Harry Potter. So it was rejected 200 times, 200, yes, that's 2, and then 2 zeros next to it. And it really speaks to how much I really wanted this, that I just kept going. But if you want to be a published author, the path to publication is just full of rejection, and there's a rejection at every stage of the way. So then I wrote another manuscript, and that manuscript actually is still kind of on the shelf. And then I wrote, Salty Bittersweet. So the manuscript that is still on the shelf actually got me my agent, Sarita Hernandez, and she's fabulous. She's like, I call her the fairy madrina godmother, because she's like, she makes your dreams come true. But she took me on with this manuscript, but then when we sent it to the publishers, it didn't sell. Like, I did not get an offer to publish. So then I wrote Salty Bittersweet, and that one sold right away. So you kind of just, resilient. You have to be resilient. You have to keep going. So a little bit of what it's like to be an author. And it's a weird year because of the pandemic. So I had, my book came out on March 3rd. We went on lockdown like 2 weeks after that. So I had to pivot, and all of my events are now virtual, which is great because I get to connect with you guys, which is amazing. And I've gotten to connect with people all over the world, which wouldn't have happened if, we would have continued on the track that we were in. But, I was very lucky, and like, I got to have a book launch and a book launch party with like all my friends, and my family came here, and it was a lot of fun. And it's also great. One of the great things is when you put your work out there and it really connects with people, but it doesn't connect with everyone. So, one of the really crappy things about being an author is like you have to deal with reviews, and some of the reviews are brutal. They're just awful. Like, And you're like, really? Like I don't see that, but you know, everybody has an opinion about your work. So you just have to just deal with it. So a little bit about advice to young writers. So read a lot, read everything. I literally read everything from picture books. And I love picture books. I've actually written 2 that are going to come out in 2023 and 2024. So anything from picture books to, I've read like middle grade novels, chapter books, and everything in the genre of young adult, like fantasy, contemporary, thriller, suspense, and adult. Like, I mean, I read like the whole gamut. Like, I actually love Stephen King. Like, and the last book that I read was about zombies. Like, the last novel that I read. And now I'm reading a young adult called Red, White, and Royal Blue, which I'm loving. So yeah, I mean, you have to read everything that you can get your hands on, because everything has something to offer, right? Like, from thrillers, we learn how to build tension. The same thing from suspense. From romance, we learn a lot about interpersonal relationships. So just every genre has something to offer. And also poetry. I love poetry. I love graphic novels. I think graphic novels are just awesome. And that's like, illustrations are something I'm never going to be able to do. So I've always admired that talent. So, you know, also write, like, you have to write. Writing is one of those things that you only learn it by doing it. Like, you have to write in order to become a good writer. And the more you write, the better you become. And the more you get that writing critique, the more people tell you, okay, these are some things that you need to tweak. These are some things that you need to work on. The better you become. So don't worry about being original when you're starting out, because it doesn't really matter. You're just writing for yourself, or you're writing for your teachers, or you're writing for others. So, you know, I always encourage students to write fan fiction. The world is already built. Like, you have characters that you love. So write a story that, you know, that you're excited about, that you know, you're passionate about and motivates you. Also, don't be afraid about writing from your own life. You know, sometimes we think, oh, I'm so boring, nothing happens to me. But, you know, every what for you is boring, from somebody else's point of view, it's actually very unique. And it gives a perspective. We love hearing stories, and we love learning about other people's lives, right? So what you think might be common to you, to somebody else who hasn't lived that experience, may be completely special. So don't be afraid to explore that, and, you know, maybe journal a little bit, maybe, you know, keep notes about your daily life and what it's like. And again, things that move you, things that you're passionate about. And I keep coming back to this thing about writing what you're passionate about, because when you're working on a book, you're with that book for about 3 years, if not 4 or 5. And if it sells really well, you could be with the book for 10 years. So if you're not passionate about it, if you don't love it, it's going to be a really miserable journey. So I always try to encourage people to write things that, you know, they love. Be persistent and resilient. I think I've kind of honed into that point. Like, you have to be very resilient in the world of publication. Like, you're just going to get rejected a lot. A lot of people are not going to like what you write. You know, a lot of people are going to criticize you for absurd things, and that's okay. You know, that's part of the process. And then read books about writing. And here are some of the books that I recommend that I have used myself to either plot novels or to learn more about writing. If you're interested, just take a screen grab of that slide. You're welcome to do that. And these are all like professional writing manuals, and they're all excellent. They'll all teach you a little bit about the writing process, about like what are stakes, characterization, you know, how to self-edit, how to build the backstory for your character, and those kind of things, and plotting, which is so important. So I am also a part of Las Musas. Las Musas is a Latinx authors collective of children's books. We represent everything from picture books, middle grade, young adult. And we get together to offer we offer school visits, we offer webinar series and writing advice. If you go to our website, you're going to be able to see a bunch of videos of classes that we have done, and look at all the books that we have to offer. And the most important thing that we do is that once a year we put together the Latinx Kid Lit Book Festival. This year we had the first run last December. It's coming back again this year, December 9th to the 10th. And we have dozens. Last year we had about 150 authors and illustrators. We're expecting the same number today. We would just want to be in as many schools as possible. So ask your teachers December 9th to the 10th to show it in your classrooms. It's free for all, and we have educator guides, so it can be integrated into the curriculum as well. Okay, and here, if you want to stay in touch, and if I didn't get to your question, please feel free to reach out on social media, either on Twitter, or Instagram, or there's a contact page on my website that you can also just put in your question, and I'll be happy to get back to you on that one. Okay, so that is it. Now we're gonna go to some questions.
Yay. All right, guys. So I'll go ahead and ask the first question, but go ahead and please put them in the Q&A. I know a few people are like, hey, I'll ask a question, done. Just put it in there. We're going to go and do it now. Okay. All right. So the first one is, what are your favorite fanfic tropes, and do you like angst?
Oh God, fan fiction trope. Well, yes, I do like angst. I think angst is just so, what, I love writing YA, and when you're a teenager, you're anxious about everything under the sun, pretty much, because everything is happening for the first time. Like you're experiencing a lot of adult relationships for the first time. Your relationship with your parents is changing a lot. There's also all this stuff going on in the world, like you're getting ready to leave home, probably either to go to college or to take a gap year or to do other stuff. So you're starting to see yourself as this independent person from your family and from your parents. So there's a lot of excitement in that, but there's also a lot of anxiety in it, because again, everything is new. You don't know what's happening. You don't know what's going on, right? And then to top it off, like there's like these physical changes, and like there's those hormonal changes, and like there's just a lot. So yeah, I'm very much, I love writing YA because I'm very much in touch with that time in my life, because I dealt with a lot of issues. It's also mental health issues that I know that, especially this year with the pandemic, a lot of us are dealing with, and a lot of you probably. And I like to be able to take maybe some of the little nuggets that I learned through life, now that I'm 41, and just be able to go back and weave those in the story as like, these are some of the things I wish I've known, when I was your age. And some of the tropes, I love romance. I kind of put a little touch of romance in everything that I write. Salty Bittersweet. It's about girl power, and it's about female empowerment, especially male dominated spaces, but there's also a romance that weaves through. And the reason for that is, like, I think it's important to have people in our lives that lift us up, right? And the love stories, I'm trying not to call it romance, and it's a love story. So the love, these just people that see us for who we are, they support what we do, and they want us to succeed. And so I love weaving that through the stories that I write.
I love the fact that you mentioned you don't like calling it romance, because I've now been referring to romance novels as relationship novels.
Oh, I like that.
Good.
I like that.
There you go. You can have that.
She also tells everybody that she also tells boys that they're like a training manual.
It's a
on how to act.
How to or not, or how not.
Or how not to. Yeah.
So it's good. So
yeah, I mean, they're a love story, right? It's about love saving the day. That's the end of it. Yeah.
All right. Next question. When did you feel successful?
So, okay. Thank you so much. I love that question. So, because usually we think of success as something external. And when we see success as something external, we will never achieve it because the bar is constantly moving, right? And that it's actually a theme that I explore in Salty Bittersweet, very heavy-handed. Like, what does success mean? Because we're taught as a society, you know, we're normally taught that success means having external things, right? Having the big house, having money, having things that are usually, or a position, or reputation. So, and all of these things, what we don't realize is like they're completely outside of our control. They're dependent of what other people think about us. So if we are measuring ourselves by others, by others' benchmark of success, we're never going to be happy. So we need to find what success means for us, like what makes us happy, like for me is, you know, doing something meaningful with my life, like being able to, for example, this right now, like this for me is success, just being able to connect with you guys here, and you know, figure out like what brings you peace, like what makes you happy, and then that is success for you. It should be meaningful for you, not, you know, not for everybody else, because otherwise you're always going to be chasing a mirage, right? Something that's just constantly moving, and it's just, yeah, just never quite achievable. And this is something really important, and you know, a lot of people don't learn this, if ever, until much later in life. So the sooner you can find that part and you can connect with that part of yourself, the sooner I feel like you're going to be happy.
All right. Our next question is from David. He said, when you finished your first novel and everyone that you could pass now to read it, what then? So I think he's asking about like the publication process.
Okay. Thank you, David. That's great. So yeah, so I finished my first novel and I have what we call a critique partner. So my friend Marie, who now has transformed into my writing partner, her and I are actually writing books together now. So we would get together every week and we would exchange chapters. So she would give me her chapters and I would give her mine. And then we would critique each other's work, it was great because we were helping each other. And we would also attend writing events together. So we would go to conferences together, you know, we would read books together, we would talk about them. We would go to these kind of events. And just support each other, because writing can be a little bit lonely sometimes. And then we even started our own writing group, and then we do writing retreats, you know, and then we kind of expanded from there. So yeah, so it was great if you're writing to have something similar, either like you can start your own writing group if that doesn't exist at your school, or a writing club, and just get people together to meet. Or you can find one online. So you can find critique partners online in different writing groups. And so once you do that and your manuscript, and you get to the point that you have given it to multiple people to read, and your manuscript is as polished as possible, because you get one chance to send it out to different agents. So you make a spreadsheet with all of your agents that you want to send it to, and then you start sending query letters. And then if they're interested, they're going to ask for a sample of the manuscript, or for the full manuscript. And if they absolutely love it and they want to work with you, they're going to ask for, they're going to give you an offer of representation. And then from there, then you work on the manuscript some more, and then get it even more polished. And then you send it to different publishers, and they'll either make an offer, or you will get rejection after rejection, which happens all the time.
All right. Thank you. Our next one is from Jacob. He says, what are your thoughts on the lack of Afro-Latin representation in literature?
That's such a great question, Jacob. Thank you so much. So, you know, I'm very, very passionate about representation, not only for Latinx authors, but, you know, for all marginalized communities, historically marginalized communities. Everyone needs to be able to see themselves in the books that we read. That is so important for so many different reasons. And also it's important that people outside our communities see stories and read stories of marginalized communities, so that they understand the full spectrum of experiences of those communities, right? There's an issue, and I'm blanking out right now the name of the author, but there's very well-known author that talks about the problem with the single story. And I'll give an example of the Latinx community. A lot of, when you think of the Latinx community, you think of immigration, you think of people coming across the border. So you think of the single story because that is the story that basically permeates the news, that we see it in different books, that when we're at that level of the national story, that's the story that pervades everything, right? But we all know, if there's Latinx people in this group, that our lives are, it's like, so that's just one aspect of some people in our community. I'm Puerto Rican. That's not immigration. I've never had to deal with that, right? And so many other people haven't. They live happily in their country. So that's just one small piece in our communities. We have so many wonderful things to celebrate: love stories, food, culture, tradition that spans hundreds of years, our own mythology. So it's important that we're bringing these stories forward so that our communities are viewed through the lens of like that richness, right? That makes us human beings. So we're not objectified as just this one thing, right? And stories are power, pretty much. We know from studies that have been done and research that, for example, last year, out of about 3,000 books, kid-lit books that were published, about 80% of them were white authors and white characters. So there's tons of stories that are being represented by that group. Meanwhile, there's a very, very small percentage for Black authors, Latinx, Asian, and even smaller for Native American. And because of this, all this information is one of the reasons that me and my colleagues, Ismael Williams and Alexandra Villasante, we founded the Latinx Kid-Lit Book Festival because we wanted to bring these books to schools. So our mission right now is to connect with as many schools, educators, librarians across the country, so that for those 2 days, we can kind of shine the spotlight on this just amazing content and books from our communities with like all types of stories. That's a really long answer to your question, but
it was a great one.
This is something that, clearly I love talking about this and it's very important to me, clearly, so.
All right, so this is from another person who says, what pueblo are you from in Puerto Rico?
Oh, so I am from Sabana Grande, and it's a tiny, tiny pueblo. We have about 10,000 people, and my whole family is still there. But yeah, it's a savanna. I mean, it literally translates to big savanna, and it's on the southwest of the island. I'm gonna be going back there in a few weeks. I'm so excited. Yeah.
Can you bring back some nice weather for us, please?
I know, right?
I'll take some Puerto Rican weather right now. That'd be great.
Oh my God, I know. I'm like dying to get some breeze. It's like pollen. I'm in Atlanta and it's like pollen season here. And I'm like dying. Like my allergies have just been awful like for the last 2 weeks.
All right. So Hubert's got a few questions. His first is, what's your favorite fanfic? Please tell me, I need to know.
Oh my God. So like I said, I mean, I love stories. Like I'll read any kind of like love story. And then I know there's some great fan fiction right now, like stuff from like Becky Albertalli and, of course, I'm a big fan of Harry Potter, so I'll read anything Harry Potter. And I still do think that Harry and Hermione should have ended up together. So I know that there's folks like writing that ending to the story. So sorry if there's some people in the group who disagree, but I'm sticking to that.
Another question is, they want to know, would you consider yourself a feminist?
Oh yes, 100%. And the book that's I just turned in the new book, the one that I'm co-writing with my friend Marie Marquardt. Is called Does My Body Offend You? And that book comes out in April, and it is about April of next year. And it is about a girl who goes to school without a bra because she's got a sunburn in her back, and she's made to put panty liners over her nipples. And that book actually explores like the differences in our bodies and how we are judged differently, whether we have small breasts or big breasts, or whether we have curves, or if we're like flat, or and even with girls and with women and men, or girls and boys, right? Like how the world basically treats people different by the way they look or the place that they hold in society. It's very much a feminist book, and it does explore all those topics from 2 points of view. From my character Malena, who's a 16-year-old Puerto Rican girl who's just she's got stuck in Florida after Hurricane Maria, so she's moved there with her family. And then Marie's writing a white girl who just relocated from Seattle to Florida. She's older, she's 18, but there's a lot of issues of privilege, of like how is feminism viewed when you're part of a marginalized community versus if you're a white person in a world of privilege. So there's a lot of themes of intersectionality, and I'm like super proud of that book. I mean, I think it's just very unique, and we've managed to kind of get our voices. And we also talk a lot about issues of allyship, like what does it mean to be an ally for when you're someone who's part of the privileged world trying to help someone in a marginalized community.
Next one is kind of a genre question. Not sure if you answered this a little bit with the fanfic. What is your favorite genre?
What is my favorite genre? God, guys, it's just like I read everything. I mean, if I showed you like my reading list, it's like all over the place. Like I'm sure like the people at Audible and like where I like get books are like, what is this with this woman, Yeah, I don't know that I have a favorite thing. Like I said, like I mean, one of my favorite books is Stephen King's The Stand. I mean, that book's, it's about the end of the world. And I guess the last one that I read is I read The Girl with All the Gifts. Like that's like literally I just finished that, and that's about like zombies and like apocalyptic scenarios. And I mean, I read a lot of hang on, I'm trying to look to see what titles I got here. Like I read a lot of books written by Black authors and Latinx authors. Let me see. Oh, Sabrina and Karina. Oh, one that I'm starting now is called The Firekeeper's Daughter. And that, right? So I'm just about to start that. I have that next on my list. And that was written by a Native American author. And I'm super excited to get that one started. And I have a lot of adult love stories, romance here on my list, because, come on, during the pandemic, you just want a happy ending, you just want something fun, you just want some candy, so there's a lot of those right now. But also I got another Stephen King book. I got Misery. So, and that's pretty horrible book, horrible in the sense that horrible things happen. The Henna Artist, Mexican Gothic. If you haven't read Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia, that's an amazing book. Yeah, so I just my it's all over the place, and I got some Pride and Prejudice. I have all of the Austen books on my Audible, like all of them. I love Jane Austen, and I love Charles Dickens. Like I have a bunch of Charles. I'm like looking at this as I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of classics in here too. So yeah, I read everything.
I feel you. Everyone's like, what's your favorite author book? I'm like, ooh, do you want to know what my favorite book is right now? Because I have been picking one. I get you.
No, that's the thing. I'm just like, it's hard for me to pick one. Like the ones that I put on the slide are the classics that I always kind of go back to, like Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Like I always read his stuff in Spanish. I know Isabella Allende, like she's got, I started I was reading their books like when I was 12 years old. So I mean, those books kind of helped me survive my parents' divorce. And I also love poetry. Like, I just think poetry has just this capacity to like elevate our lives, And, I read a lot of books of craft, obviously, because of, what I'm doing. I'm constantly trying to improve my craft. Now I got a subscription to Masterclass, so I've been listening to all these classes from all these great authors and stuff. So yeah, it's read what you love. I mean, I don't think you have to limit yourself to one genre. It's like, it's whatever you're in the mood for, just
Very true. All right, next one. What is your favorite food?
My favorite food. Okay, again, this is like the favorite book question. I love to eat. So let me just be that. I love to eat, and I eat a lot, and I love trying new things. It's hard for me to limit. This is like the question: if you were on the if you were about to go on the electric chair, what would your last meal? If you asked it that way, like if I had to pick a last meal, it'll probably be like fried chicken and like maybe some mac and cheese and a big piece of flan, maybe a couple of desserts, some bread, because I'm a baker. I love making bread. So yeah, I love carbs and I love things fried. Like,
I would eat all those things. I like it.
I know, right?
All right, the next one is about working at CNN. They want to know, how does it feel working in CNN when there's a lot of criticism against CNN? Like some, portion of the population is very critical of that news network.
Yeah, so that's very interesting, because that started with the Trump administration. I have been a journalist basically my entire adult life since I was in college. I was working with news agencies. And we'd never really experienced that at that level. And it was very disheartening at first. And then you kind of, you know what you're doing, the reasons why you're doing it, you have good intentions. For myself, and I know for all my colleagues, this is true. Like, we come into work every day just trying to do our best work. And then always being bound to the truth. We're always trying to seek the truth and reporting that to other people and telling those stories to the wider audience. So I think we are very clear in what we're doing. And we're also very clear in that other people are weaponizing facts and they're weaponizing the truth for their own agendas, right? So, and I think we need to see that, right? I think this generation, you guys, like, you need to be very clear about when people are trying to pull the wool over your eyes, and then you need to seek facts for yourself. Like, you need to read multiple sources. Like, I start every day reading at least 3 newspapers. I read the Washington Post, the New York Times. I read NPR. I read Politico, because I do like kind of keep tabs on what's going on with politics and that kind of thing. And I read the Wall Street Journal. And I know these all sound like really, like old lady reading newspapers type things, but these, when you're trying to find your sources for your information, you want to try to find sources that are reliable. And for me, I have found that these are reliable sources, right? They may make a mistake every once in a while, but it's not all the time. And they're not trying to put a slant on the reporting. So, yeah.
All right, great question. Another one is, what type of TV do you watch? Do you watch TV?
Yes, I do. I do watch TV, especially when I've finished a project. I have been known to go on binge watching. Okay, so I am a big Netflix watcher. I will be honest about that. And I just finished watching Who Killed Sarah? Again, I love suspense. I love thrillers. Why am I not writing that? I don't know. So one of the things that I love about Netflix is it does have a lot of international shows. So like ¿Quién Mató a Sara? Is actually a show that was shot in Mexico. It was completely produced in Mexico with Mexican artists. So I love just being able to listen to it in Spanish. And it does have the subtitles, and it really drives me crazy when they're like, the translation is wrong. And you're like, that's not what they said. Like, But yeah, I do love watching a lot of like international stuff. And again, I am, the times that we're in, things are difficult. We're all sick of being inside. We're all sick of wearing masks and all this stuff. So sometimes I just give myself a pass and just say, okay, I have watched that romantic comedy 10 times, but it's okay. I'm going to watch it 11th time. Like, and that is okay. So yeah, I watch a little bit of everything.
That's great. Okay. Another question is, what was your worst rejection on a book?
Oh, yes. So I remember, it comes to mind very clearly. So I was trying to hire an editor, which this is something you can do. There's like these freelance editors that you can hire and you can pay them to help you with your book. So I reached out to this person just saying, hey, I'm interested in your services. And basically I was telling him, I would like to pay you to help me edit my book. And apparently my book was so bad that he would not even take my money. And and he was like, yeah, no, we can't. This book is no good. You need to put it aside and write something else. And it was like, seriously? Yes, seriously. And it was fine. It was good advice because, I moved on, but it's still, I was just like, I am like, you're literally turning my money away. This is that bad. Like,
all right. This is a very difficult one. This question, what is your favorite color?
My favorite color, it's interesting. I always get that question in like school visits. I should have an answer by now, but I feel like it changes with the week. Let me see. I'm gonna say red. I love red. Red is a power color. I love red lipstick. Yes.
Red. I like it. Oh, and this one is, what's a pueblo?
A pueblo is a town. It just
town.
means town.
Yeah. And then I think there's persons that it's, how do you feel about white privilege? I think is what they're asking.
How do I feel about white privilege? It shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
So, God, wow, these are profound, existential, complicated questions. How do I answer that? So, white privilege, and it's interesting because I live in the world of white privilege. I am married to a white Midwestern, American English-speaking man, right? He's like, when you think of in terms of privilege, he's like number one at the line, in the line, right? And I have two wonderful stepkids that I love that, they're white, male, heterosexual. So they're like cisgender. So they're like at the number one in line when it comes to privilege. And we have had many conversations and we talk about recognizing your privilege and also how to be an ally, how to step back to give opportunity to others, right? To lift marginalized voices, to give room for marginalized voices. And it's an ongoing conversation. And I think when you have a relationship that works, it's one that we can respectfully have a conversation of like, this thing that you did is based on your white privilege and you probably can't see that right now, but I am letting you know. And we can have a loving back and forth. And that's pretty much the relationship that I have with my friends, like my friend Marie, who are co-writing the book. We have that conversation all the time because of the nature of the work that we are doing. We're actually breaking down like white privilege actually like on the page. So yeah, it's something that I've spent a lot of time with. I spent a lot of time thinking about. And also I understand like, for me, I see my role in trying to also uplift. Even though I am part of the marginalized community, I am also working to try to uplift other voices within my marginalized community. Like there's always somebody who's more marginalized than you are, right? Like how many books by Latinx indigenous people do we have? I can't think of any, and the same thing with, the question that Afro-Latinx writers, very marginalized, probably more than a Puerto Rican writer. So we all have work to do. We all can work as allies. We all can uplift other voices along the way. And yeah, and just make sure everybody's having a seat at the table, right? With equal voice and equal power.
Great answer. Next one is, what advice would you give for a new person who wants to get into writing?
New person who wants to get into writing. So I did touch about this a little bit on the slides, and you know, for me, it's important to read. You have to read everything. Read a lot. Try some books on craft, because there's so much technique in writing. So this is the technical. When we're reading a good book, when we're reading a great story, we're so immersed in it that we don't realize all the technical work that went into putting together that book, right? All the plotting, the increasing of the stakes, all that stuff. And those are things that you learn either by doing or by taking a class or by reading a book. So I highly recommend that you grab one of the books that I had there on the list, that you watch a few webinars. You know, like I said, Las Musas has some great free webinars on the website. I feel like everything now it's online, so you can just, and during the pandemic, so many authors have recorded lessons and, you know, classes and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, it's important that you constantly be learning technique, to be learning craft. And again, the only way to become a great writer is by writing. You have to constantly be writing, constantly be practicing, seeing what works on the page when you actually write it down, and getting your work critiqued. Having a critique partner or a critique group is absolutely invaluable. Like you just get so much better, and being open to the criticism, knowing that it's coming from a good place, and knowing that it just inevitably is just going to make it will make you a better writer, even if it stings a little bit, because no one wants to hear that they suck.
Usually not. That doesn't, no, usually you're correct on that one. Oh, and this is more of a statement you'll enjoy. This person, they're anonymous. They said they think you're very funny.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
and
you.
Then this one is asking, how good are your artistic skills? Which I know you mentioned picture books, so I'm just going to add that question. Did you do anything with the drawing, or was that someone else?
No, I can't draw to save my life. I can draw stick animals. So my artistic skills flow into food. You know, like I love cooking and I love baking, and that is where my artistic river flows. Other than writing. I also love gardening. If I could take you guys outside, I would show you, like, my garden looks great. Like I got like all these beautiful plants around my house. So, I mean, you know, when you talk about art being artistic, like that can take so many different forms. Right? It can be something as simple of picking a great outfit, or doing our hair a certain way, right? Or music, or, you know, just the more traditional ways that we think of art. But then it can also be baking a great cake, you know, or yeah, just doing different things, or making a gorgeous flower arrangement. It can just take so many different ways. I love all these comments about fried food.
Yeah. I love, it's like I tell people, I'm like, okay, I know fried food is not good for you, but man, does it taste good. It's like Cuban food.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Everything's in moderation, you know, like you can have it every once in a while. You don't have to have it every day. I'm having fried chicken for dinner tonight, so that's kind of up in like the forefront of my mind. I'm like dying for dinner.
I joke around that besides the sofrito and Cuban food, there's really no vegetables. So it's the same thing. It's like, it tastes so good, but where's the veggies?
I know. That's the struggle. Everybody's like, you know, I should eat more salads. I'm like, you don't understand. Like, I'm like, my grandfather is a lettuce farmer, and I did not grow up with salads. This is like, that is like the Puerto Rican conundrum right there, you know, like.
Oh, and this is a good question. What music do you listen to while writing, or do you listen to music while writing?
So I know a lot of people listen to music while writing. I need absolute silence. Like I need to, I don't listen to any music while writing. I just need to basically, I need to listen to the characters in my head kind of talking to me. And if there's music, it kind of interrupts the flow of that. I know a lot of people are able to do that. I can't do it. It really messes with my head. So I need complete silence. I need to completely be able to immerse myself in whatever scene I'm writing and kind of listen. You almost become like an actor. So you put yourself completely in that space so you can listen to, you can use all of your senses. You can see things, you can taste things, you can hear them, and then you can just bring all that stuff to the page. I was actually, this is very fresh because I was working on a scene for a new book last night. It was actually the first chapter. And it was just that moment. And I think I started writing at 9:30, and then my husband comes in and he's like, "Oh my God, you're still up?" And I looked at the clock and it was midnight. And in my mind, like 5 minutes had passed. And it was because you're just so immersed in the scene and it's what's happening and what the characters are telling you. And that, yeah, time just flies by.
All right, the next question is about anime. They want to know, do you like it? And I think they're asking the question, they said, I'm interested because lots of authors like cartoons.
Yes, and I have a lot of friend authors who love cartoons. I read a lot of comic books when I was growing up. I was really big into comic books and I love graphic novels. I encourage readers for graphic novels because it's just such a great way. If you're not a big reader, it's just a great way to kind of bridge the gap. I'm not into anime right now. Doesn't mean I'm not going to be, at some point. But I do have a lot of author friends who are just love the illustrations and working in that field.
And then next question, do you play video games? And if you do you have a favorite one?
Okay, so I just spent 2 weeks with my nieces and my nephews in Florida, who are like, my nephew is big into video games. And we were playing, while I was there, we were playing Mario Kart, Mario Kart race or something like that.
Mario Kart, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think that's what it's called. And they beat my butt like every single night. I mean, it was just like got to the point that I thought I was doing so well, and I was like, okay, here it is. Like at least I'm beat. Like I look like I'm ahead, and I wasn't. I was always lost.
No.
So,
No.
and I will say, because I mean, if you guys know what Atari is basically like the video game of the 80s. So I used to play Atari with my sisters and my neighbors, and I always was horrible at it. Like I was horrible at Pac-Man. I was horrible. Like I'm just not a video game person. I think because I overthink it maybe. Like, like I'm just spending all this time thinking, well, why is this happening? Well, why is this going this way? And you just have to react too fast. And I don't have that quick reaction thing. But I mean, it's a great way to make friends. Like my niece, she's 16 and she's made like all of her pandemic friends have been playing Fortnite and doing Fortnite. I forget the name. She instructed me on this. She'd be horrified listening to me talk right now.
Minecraft, maybe?
Yeah, no, but it was Fortnite. It's on this application that all these people get together, and it's a big community. And now I forgot what it's called. It's not my world. But I love that teens get together and build community. I mean, that's just so important.
All right, I love this question. Is that a llama or an alpaca in the background?
It's a llama. Okay, so there's a little joke with the llama. So I'm Buddhist, and you can actually see my shrine here. So in Buddhism, the word lama means guru. It means like your spiritual teacher. So they sell it a little joke that I have my llama. I'm like, haha.
That's great. I didn't realize that that's what it stood for. And I learned something. Yes. All right.
And it's a lovely llama.
This is a joke. It's just, it's gonna kind of keep your sense of humor, right, about everything. But like an actual llama would be like a person.
Yeah, it's a Dalai Lama.
Right. Yes. Okay. And then any chance you would write a sequel to this book, maybe about either of the two females?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, but right now I'm under contract with Penguin Random House for two additional titles, and that's the one that's coming out. That's My Body Offend You, which comes out next year. And then another one titled The Last Curandera, or The Last Healer, that is set in Puerto Rico. And that comes out in 2024. So I just started working on that. That's the one that I was starting writing last night. And I have 2 picture books that I am currently under contract for. So I'll be working on those as well. And another picture book that's out for to be sold right now. So I'm pretty busy right now, and I have the day job, that pays the bills. Don't quit your day job when you become published. At least not until the millions start rolling in. And yeah, so it's I don't know. Maybe I love the characters in that book, and I love writing about food. But you kind of something great happens when you get published, is that you have the opportunities to sell more books really open up quite quickly, like after a long dry spell. People start seeing that you can write a book, you can put it out into the world, especially and if it does well, even better. So you have a lot, once you're published, you have a lot more opportunities to continue publishing other books. So I'm taking full advantage of that.
Fabulous. And it looks like we've got one last question in the Q&A, unless someone else pops one in. So you talked about reading graphic novels, but do you like manga at all?
I've never gotten into reading manga, but if you love reading manga, oh my God, just please do whatever you love to read, whatever gets you, excited about reading, just do it, read whether it be love stories or action or thrillers or like poetry or, even lyrics to a song, like whatever gets you guys reading, do it, especially if it's something that opens a window into a world that you are not a part of, or that you know nothing of, right? That you can see the world. If it's something where you can see the world from somebody else's perspective, and then you can walk the world in somebody else's shoes. That's so important that, right now we need to build more empathy in our world. Like we need to find ways to connect with each other despite of our differences, and realize, that at the end, we all have the same feelings. We all have the same wishes. We're all have problems, and we all are suffering in our own unique ways, but we all want to be happy, and we all experience love and anger and jealousy and, and joy and happiness. So we need to look past these perceived differences that are all just external and just very much on the surface. And books are such a powerful tool to do that. To build compassion with each other, to build empathy, to realize what other people are going through, what they're experiencing.
Yes.
Right, Mayra, this has been fabulous.
It's been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
And I know that our team's got much out of this, and this was fabulous.
So, yeah. And your books are going to fly off the shelf if they hadn't already.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys enjoy them. And again, if I didn't answer any of your questions, or if you didn't feel comfortable putting a question here, please reach out through my website. I'm always glad to hear from readers that way.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much.
And real quick, for anyone still on Teen Wise, we do have one last author visit coming up. We have a graphic novelist, Miki, Kiku Hughes. I'm sorry, Kiku Hughes is coming to talk about displacement, which is about the Japanese internment camp. So that'll be in May. So just be on the lookout for that. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And thank you all for coming. It's been really good. And Chris, I think, is going to cut us off in just a minute. So.
Yeah. So everyone, have a great weekend. And thank you so much, Mayra. This was fabulous.
Oh, this was great. Thank you so much for having me. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.